What are we to do with the Seahawks running backs? What are we to do with the Cleveland backfield, quite frankly? And what do you make of the latest Tucker Kraft injury in Green Bay? We've got a great show for you tonight. The 2025 FFPC Main Event Week 2 leader is here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Bush will pop on to tell us how he has managed his team to the top as he chases a $1 million grand prize. Ferrell Elliott from the KFFSC is here. Oinker from the KFFSC is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
World, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the high-stakes fantasy football hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture, are we not all our father's sons? I became a man, nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you so much, Rob. Welcome, greetings, and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs tuning in from around the world tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. So glad to have you aboard here as we are on the cusp of Week 3 of the FFPC and the NFL. I want to let you know that my name can be found on X at Eric Balkman, EricBalkman. Of course, you know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown and the FFPC Insider Access show on the Better Sports Network. You know my co-host, Ferrell Elliott from the KFFSC, KFFSC.com, at KFFSC official on the X as well. Coming up on tonight's show, we got a baller show for you as we head into Week 3. Kyle Pitts. I feel like we have done this numerous times over, but we're going to do it again this year. Kyle Pitts, is he worth a top 10 tight end start? What do you do if you're trying to replace Tucker Kraft, as he is expected to miss this week? And then, of course, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Javonte Williams, and then, of course, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt coming up on the show tonight. It's going to be a baller show. And then we'll get into some starter sits coming up in about 45 minutes or so on the show tonight. We'll be getting into J.K. Dobbins, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jatavian Sanders, Daniel Jones, and much more. That is what is coming up on the show tonight. If you want to connect with us on X, you can do so at HSFF Hour. You can always connect with me at Eric Balkman, and of course KFFSC.com to connect with Ferrell Elliott. Post on our Facebook page at HSFF Hour. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, for Ferrell, for Ryan, whoever, now is the time to send them. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, X posts, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up later on in the show. Thanks to our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. Let's bring in the co-host with the most. Ladies and gentlemen, he celebrated his birthday last weekend. I'm so glad he survived it to come on aboard tonight to help host the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. He can be followed on X at jferrellelliott. KFFSC.com is where to check out his contest. He is the incomparable, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, one Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, welcome aboard tonight. The sun in my area right now is low, but apparently the sun is very high where you are at in Louisville, Kentucky right now.
Well, this is sort of a tip of the hat to James Hicks and our beloved Scott Christian, who bequeathed to me, Balky, a most fabulous birthday present. Now I don't have to run solo with the show. I have my own show helper. He is Kentucky-based oinker with matching hair.
Oh, look at that. Look at the hair. Look at the hair, ladies and gentlemen.
The hair on the side.
There's no hair on this one. This guy's bald.
But yeah, we're proud and we're thankful that Porky's keeps thinking of us and keeps watching the show. It's great. And you were saying that, well, you know me from that show you do in the middle of the week, which these guys aren't listening to. So, and that's kind of like Patrick Mahomes saying You know me from Texas Tech. It's Balky. This is your thing, man. This is, and you are such a beloved individual. I witnessed it prior to coming home last week, and I think I just can't quit talking about it enough. I wanted to spend a little time with you out there. You were always working. You were podcasting. You were entering teams. You were making FFPC Las Vegas go for everyone there, and I'm still drinking to you. So thank you, Bob.
Some of my favorite memories in Las Vegas, where I go out there for the FFPC, and granted, I'm out there for about a week and a half or so. And for the first week, I'm busy working. I'm doing everything I can, and I try to hook up with this. And by the way, in 2026, I feel like I'm going to have the opportunity to hang out with more players, more listeners, more viewers of the show, which I'm very excited about. But I will say this: one of the things I miss is hanging out with you, Ferrell, on your birthday. Which we didn't get a chance to do this year because your birthday came after everybody was already on
That's right.
Las Vegas. But because the calendar flips this year,
calendar's our friend.
We get a few more days out in Las Vegas. It's going to be a baller time. I expect to have a great meal with you, maybe a couple of bourbons out in the desert with you on your birthday next year. I'm very excited for that, and time will tell and the location will tell exactly where that's going to happen. But it's going to happen in 2026, my friend.
Balky, the years go by very, very quickly, and sometimes we regret that. But it can't go by quickly enough for me to do what you just described. So thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you had a good one. Steve G hanging out with us tonight. He says Ferrell looks like a bag of money. Ferrell, have you ever looked like a bag of money?
I've looked like a bag before, but not of money. Steve G is quite complimentary and a real gentleman.
Ray C says, how many years have you fellas been playing fantasy football? Ferrell, I don't know what it is for you, but 1994, when I was still in high school, that was the first year I played fantasy football. So we're coming up on my fourth decade here. What about you?
You beat me to it because I did not play in basement leagues. My only fantasy football experience has been in contests, and I've been with the FFPC since day one. And prior to that, I was with those characters that were supplanted in the industry by the FFPC. And so all of my play came in Las Vegas. And then I tried to play in basement leagues, and I realized that people should keep basements to themselves. So, that's basically but yes, most everyone has a jump on me in fantasy football, and the results prove it.
The national contest for me didn't start till WCOF in the early 2000s. So we're looking at the better part of 20 plus years or whatever for me. But I can reassure you, Ray C, whatever you're getting tonight, and whatever you're getting every time you tune in to the FFPC YouTube channel, you are getting a lot of wealth of experience, not only from Ferrell, from myself, and whatever guests we have on, like tonight when we have Ryan Bush come on, who is leading the FFPC main event. A couple of questions right off the top. We have Jeffrey Drake chiming in, Ferrell. He's got Travis Etienne. He's got Alvin Kamara. He's got Jamar Chase, and he's got Xavier Worthy. Should he trade Emeka Egbuka and Bucky Irving for Drake London and Omarion Hampton? Now, I know this is
hell no.
Oh, it's not a lot to take in.
No, there's nothing there. Right there's nothing there. Egbuka and Bucky not only are superior players, they're youthful players, and they play for a team that has it together. This Tampa team is going to win that division. They were the favorite to win that division, and the way they play for each other is what you look for in football. You should not get rid of those players. They are similar talents to some of the other players that have offered in the trade, but they're not in similar situations. Situational football alone makes them the attractive too. You're drafted well, Joe. You've got to learn how to stand prosperity, son. You got to just sit back and enjoy it. Just the Drake is prosperous. The Drake must be understood as a prosperous cat.
We love the Drake.
Who doesn't? Those guys behind you did.
Yeah, they did. And
Yeah.
and I will say this right now, when you look at that trade, Jeffrey, Egbuka is only going to go up from here. Bucky Irving has been crushing it so far. Drake London, yeah, you're getting him at a little bit of a discount, but Omarion Hampton, and we'll get into this throughout the show tonight, he is being thwarted by Najee Harris, Jim Harbaugh, and Greg Roman right now. So I think there's a lot to dislike about Omarion Hampton when you compare him to Egbuka and Bucky Irving. So
pales in comparison.
I'm with my good buddy Ferrell on this. It's an open and shut case. We also have let's see here what okay. I want to go through. I'm sorry. This is awful. All right, let's move on.
Not breaking news, is it, Balky?
No, there's no breaking news. We don't have any breaking news, but I just wanted to make sure I'm getting through all the good YouTube comments before we move on.
Hey, Steve G's got a good comment, by the way.
All right, here we go. We'll put Steve G's comment.
This way we can get the Green Bay stuff out early. Steve G called me this week. He goes, you know who the trending tight end is. You know who the sleeper tight end is. You know who everyone is forgetting. And I gave him a couple answers. They were far from correct. And he goes, Musgrave. And I confirmed that by saying, Steve, Musgrave, when Musgrave came into the league with Kraft and other tight ends, I thought he was the primary talent. I love the player. Now, the news this week is that Steve went out before the injury news and grabbed this player everywhere. And so, he does not have a crystal ball, folks. He just likes the player.
So I'm going to say this right now for Steve G. He had teased this last week, saying that he had the tight end stash of the year that he was going to announce tonight. And he texted me about, 7 or 8 hours ago to let me know that, hey, my tight end stash is not going to hit the way I thought it was because Tucker Kraft sprained his knee or hurt his knee in practice on Thursday. But he still was going to reveal it tonight. And he revealed it privately to me. We've publicly outed him.
He's been outed.
It's great. Ferrell, I'm going to ask you this right now.
Okay.
In regards to Tucker Kraft, Matt LaFleur spoke to the media today, and he said he doesn't think that Tucker Kraft is going to go on IR, which, mean, it is good. But at the same time, we're looking at whether we can start Tucker Kraft on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns, and it sounds like we can't because the first thing LaFleur says is we don't think he's going to go on IR. We can't count on him in week 3. But what about Steve G, the fantasy soprano zone, Luke Musgrave, the guy who was picked in round 2 of the NFL draft ahead of Tucker Kraft, who was picked in round 3. What do you make of Luke Musgrave this week in the FFPC main event, the FFPC Big Gorilla? Is this a guy that we can take tight end out of the equation, but what about flexing him out? Again, we have no Jaden Reed this week. He's out. We have Matthew Golden, who could take a big step forward, but again, he did not have any targets in last week's game on Thursday night against the Washington Commanders. What do you make of Luke Musgrave this week for FFPC players?
Okay, well, I like him as a tight end. I like him as your emergency tight end. I like him better than some of the starting tight ends that are in the league, such as Schultz, such as Otten, perhaps. But let's don't, especially since we're not in waiver wire land yet or bye week land yet. Let's don't go crazy. Let's don't flex him out. Let's just wait and see what happens. And Balky, but that's my thought. You are more qualified to answer that question than anyone in the fantasy football world because you're there right with your hand on the pulse of what's going on in this situation. And I would be somewhat careful with Kraft as he comes back. I would try to learn as much as I can about the injury because if you're winning and you have Kraft, it's because you've been leaning on him. And we all saw the game Monday night. The bright spot of the Raiders was not as bright. It was dim and it was on low because Bowers gainfully playing and he's a real gamer. As you say, Balky, several times tonight, a baller. But he was not the same Brock Bowers in the brace and trying to play injured. And I admire players that play hurt. But in fantasy football, we must be very cautious in that world.
my whole thing on this Tucker Kraft thing, number one, I'm rooting for him to be out. I don't want to mess around with him being active and then potentially having, 10, 15, maybe 20 snaps on offense. I don't want that. So let's talk about what happens if he's out. I think Luke Musgrave becomes a back-end flex in the FFPC. I think he can be flexed out as your second flex, not as your primary, not as your tight end, but I think there is something to like there with Cleveland. At the same time, I will echo what I've been saying for the last 6, 7, 8+ months about the Packers passing game. I don't know what's going to happen from a week-to-week basis. Some weeks it's going to be Dobbs. Some weeks it's going to be Kraft. Some weeks it's going to be, Watson or Reed or Golden, Kraft, any of these guys. And I think the fact that Kraft and Reed are out this week doesn't clear it up anymore for me. I know that the Cleveland Browns defense is really, really good as far as the rush defense goes, and it might be a quiet week from Jacobs. But if you're looking to me and say, Balky, please save me, what should I do with these Packers pass catchers this week? I don't have a good answer for you. I think Musgrave could be good. I think Golden could be good. I think Dobbs could be good. But to ask me right now and say like which one is going to be good, I have no idea.
And you've been trying to answer that question all week. You can't answer it, can you?
All off season, fair.
Yeah, you've been there all. Hey man, they're screaming for Ryan Bush.
Right. Ryan Bush is going to join us in just a little bit.
He's a New Yorker.
He is a New Yorker.
Did you determine? Well, we got to ask him: is he upstate? Is he city?
I'm going to look that up right now.
New Yorker can mean a lot of things.
I don't think he's New York City, but he will join us in just a couple of minutes to let us know for sure on this. Speaking of situations where we can't make heads or tails out of,
no,
let's go to the Pacific. Let's go to the Pacific Northwest. The Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak said the team is, quote, finding ways to get, end quote, both Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker involved, adding, quote, and this is the worst thing that he could say, I see 2 starters. This, according to The Athletic, Clint Kubiak talking about the Seahawks backfield. I see 2 starters. Mike McDonald, the head coach of the Seahawks, said that the plan is for each back to have a, quote, ample opportunity on a weekly basis. Now, the weekly basis may not happen this week. I did not see if Zach Charbonnet practiced today, and I probably should have. Mea culpa on that. But I know he did not practice on Wednesday. He did not practice on Thursday, and it's looking like it's going to be a big Kenneth Walker week, which you don't need to watch this show to tell to find out whether you should be starting Kenneth Walker this week. If Charbonnet is out, you want to start Walker. But I'm telling you, going forward, Ferrell, is this just simply a guessing game, whether it's going to be a Charbonnet week, whether it's going to be a Walker week, or can we glean anything from what we've seen so far to know, like, okay, this is the week to sit this guy. This is the week to start this guy. What are your feelings sort of on, again, not this week necessarily, because it looks like Charbonnet is going to miss, but weekly going forward, can you glean anything about whether Walker or Charbonnet is the correct start?
I think what we saw from Ollie Gordon and maybe Najee Harris is very much what we could see from the second running back, which is Charbonnet. And when Walker has this opportunity to carry the load and the fellas are going in the message and saying he's going to run wild, when he has an opportunity to do that, he's going to show the talent that I've always seen in him and that I think the fantasy drafters saw in him this year. So I'm not too concerned from a fantasy football perspective about Charbonnet stealing Walker, but he is a contributor to that aspect. The team, though, and one of the things that helps both situations, the head coach wants to see 2 starters because he's going to need to run the ball 450 times to win in that division. He's not going to win through the air, so he's going to have plenty of running games. So there's enough to go around to make Walker, for Charbonnet to service the running game, but for Walker to have comparable carries to the number 1 backs around the league.
I think that as we go forward, and I don't think this is a bold prediction at all, Ferrell, but I think as we go forward, the Seahawks running game throughout not only September, but October, November, December, it's going to be something that we will be looking not forward to, but it's going to be something that we will be looking at trying to figure out what's the best way to handle this situation for our Big Gorilla, for our main event, for our classic, whatever it is with the FFPC right now, because I don't think we have a good handle on it right now. You have made your notes and your thoughts clear on this, and it's hard for me to disagree with that. But I also know that after this week, if Charbonnet is healthy for week 4, it's in disarray once again, and we will see what happens on that. Ladies and gentlemen, the FFPC main event from the get-go was in disarray. This guy has said bully to that. He has thumbed his nose in the general direction of every FFPC main event player, because as we head into week 3, this gentleman right here is in first place overall in the driver's seat for the $1 million grand prize. $1 million grand prize is what this guy is looking at right now. He is here to join us tonight. You can connect with him on X right now at League 77. He is in first place in the FFPC main event going into week 3. Please welcome into the program, Mr. Ryan Bush. Ryan, welcome into the program. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. Congratulations on your early success, and good evening.
Thanks. I'm psyched to be here. And I would definitely put an emphasis on early with that. You know, I'm happy to be where I am for sure, but there's certainly a long way to go.
Did you, because you drafted 2 live main events, right, out in Las Vegas? And,
I did.
And did you ever think, like here September 19th, you being interviewed as you are in the driver's seat for $1 million grand prize? Did you think your team was this potent enough to be in this situation this early in the season?
I mean, I really was psyched about the team I drafted. I definitely felt good about it, but that's like feeling good about like beating the 11 guys in my league. Like that's what I'm thinking small. Like I wasn't expecting to see my name up there, but I'm psyched about it for sure.
How many years you been coming to Las Vegas and playing, right?
Just this is my second year. So
I love that, man. It's one of my favorite feelings of the year is to walk away from a draft and monitor what I'm thinking. Sometimes I'm surprised during the season, but sometimes I'm not. The longer I play in it, the more I know about the futures of my team, the more I can trust that feeling. What did you think when you concluded the draft, took a picture of the draft board, took a look at it? What did you think? What was your feelings when the draft ended?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked how it fell. Like you get a lot of drafts where you are hoping to get a guy, and it always seems like someone nabs them before you get a chance to get your guy, and you have to take someone who's maybe your second choice, or third choice. And with this one, it definitely did feel like when it came around to me, like the guy I wanted wasn't taken right before me. And I got a lot of guys that I had targeted in other drafts that I was targeting, just this year that I really liked. So
you're kind of holding your breath, and then all of a sudden a sigh of relief when you
always.
And that's a really good feeling. I did not experience that in Las Vegas in September.
No,
okay, I'm glad you did. And I can see by your roster, I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions about that, because my last question now before Balky takes it away. What spot did you draft your most successful team from?
You mean what spot was I in?
Yeah, what draft spot?
Yeah. I think I was 4. I was 3. Oh, 5. Okay, 5.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
So
I was Bijan, and there were other options, but I kind of felt like this year was a year where you like to have that bell cow back, and I felt like if I took him, I'd have a chance to get some really good wideouts in the second, third round. So when Bijan was there, it was just like I didn't really have much to think about. I was ready. I was just nabbed him. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to follow up on that. Number one, Ryan. Number two, I want to bring this up right now if I can find the proper YouTube comment on this, which I may or may not be able to find here. Derek Bush, some relation, I'm assuming.
That's my brother. So
there you go. And he posts on YouTube tonight.
I was gonna say I don't even want to hear.
There's a whole lot of you got a real following here, brother. I tell you what.
So Ryan, so your brother Derek posts on YouTube tonight for all the people who are listening to this and not seeing this. His comment is, "What about the deadweight Mark Kahn you have to partner with?" And I'm assuming Mark Kahn is sitting in first place with you in the FFPC main event. This was a guy that you had drafted at least with this live in Las Vegas team that's sitting at first. I'm guessing he was your partner for both live in Las Vegas teams.
Yes, that's very true. So I do have to include him on this. So we partner up, and nobody talks fantasy more than he and I. Just even before we got into this. So yeah, he's my guy, and he definitely deserves just as much credit as me.
I see the reference to Mr. Khan as dead weight, maybe the green eye of envy there, Balky, from some of the other characters in the. I think that's what might be going on. Balky, didn't you have a question about C.D. Lamb?
Yes, I do. And Ryan, you kind of alluded to this, and we can move on past it. But when it came to you at 105. Bijan Robinson is out there. C.D. Lamb is out there. Was it just the case of like you thinking that you'd be able to get some pretty serious wide receivers in round 2, round 3, round 4, and beyond, that like you looked at this and you're like, okay, we have to take Robinson here and we'll figure out the wide receiver thing later. But Robinson at the 105, this is a gift. How what was the thought process at 105 there when you had Robinson, Lamb, and others staring you in the face?
It's really exactly that. Like I do love CD. Like, I expect him to have a really good year. I could even see him beating wide receiver 1, with that Dallas offense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a positional thing, like I wanted that bell cow running back. And like you said, I knew, we ended up with, Puka Nacua, like, I knew that there'd be guys like that I could fill in my roster. There were a few receivers also that I kind of knew that I was targeting a little later that I thought could have big years. So yeah, it was, even though I like CD a lot, it wasn't that hard of a decision for me.
I like that. That's a good, and Balky, to satisfy some of the answers, you might be able to inform us just what the chances are, what the percentile chances of even getting Bijan at number 5. And I will remind all of your envious cats that envy, fellas, is the only one of the 7 deadly sins that you get no enjoyment at all from. So we don't want to have that envy. But I tell you something I'm envious of, and I can tell that you went and got your guys. I did not do enough of that in the draft this year. That's why I see that JSN, who has been a bargain pick for some, was your 3rd round pick. It does not matter. You picked him over Adams, which I probably would not have. You picked him over Harrison, which I would have. You picked him over another couple of receivers that I like, especially Wilson. But my question to you is, did you see this level of production coming from Seattle? Because honestly, I didn't. And do you see it continuing? Because we alluded to the power of this running game, and that's how this team is going to have to win. So there's a lot of questions there, but best of all, congratulations on picking that player.
Yeah, well, just on JSN, like, he's a guy that I definitely was targeting in a lot of my drafts. I believe I had him last year on one of my FFPC teams. I just felt like he is super talented, and he just seemed ready to take on the wide receiver 1 mantle that he was being handed in Seattle. Now that who's what's his name from Pittsburgh is gone. Who was their wide receiver one last year? Metcalf, sorry. Yeah, so like with him gone, I think he's just as talented as some of those other guys that I passed up on. And now that he's the one there, I really like his game. I think he's just as good as some of those guys I passed. I mean, Adams, I was a little concerned just because of the share with Puka. I mean, Puka goes out and has 14 catch days like all the time. It's like crazy. And so
hasn't been a problem so far, has it?
What's that?
It hasn't been a problem so far.
No. And like, I could look back in, later weeks and think, maybe I didn't pick the right guy. We'll have to see how it bears out. But that was kind of the thing with Adams and like why we didn't, like him as much.
Yeah, and Rubio comes in with a good comment here, fellas. About the back, and as people are talking about these injuries, the way that that communication was going around the room in Las Vegas, it was like Stafford would never walk again. That's how serious it was. And I give a tip of the hat to drafters that I'm not sure who did here, but who took McCaffrey after all the words were out that he was not going to play or maybe not be available or what. And those guys know how to take the best of a gamble and get the upside out of it. So it's congratulations to you and it's people like that win. It's people that know how to do that.
McCaffrey's like he's a huge gamble with a huge upside every year and a very big downside. So like, if I'm drafting in the 9 spot or the 10 spot and he's there at that point, like sometimes I'm like, I got to roll the dice and do it. But he's not a top 5 guy anymore just because of the risk to me.
Yeah.
I'll bring this up right now just to make it known. Dave Kluge from Football Guys. There is nobody higher in the industry on Jackson Smith and Jigba than this guy heading into FFPC drafts this year, the final weekend of FFPC drafts. And my whole thing was, as far as Smith and Jigba goes, which obviously has been awesome for you so far, Ryan, I was nervous about a offensive coordinator coming into Seattle who had a reputation for running the football, replacing an offensive coordinator that had a reputation for throwing the football a lot, right? That's why Ryan Grubb was fired, because they didn't run the football enough. And that's what Mike McDonald parted ways. So then they bring in Clint Kubiak, who, again, has this reputation for running the ball successfully. What I failed to realize, and Ryan, maybe you realized this and I did not, the track record for Clint Kubiak, number 1 wide receivers, is really, really good. And that's what I missed on Smith and Jigba. I have him in a few spots this year, obviously not enough, but I think what he's done in the first 2 weeks is going to continue throughout not only the FFPC regular season, but the FFPC league playoffs and the FFPC championship round. So you are set up very, very well, in my opinion, in that, Ryan, for sure. I want to float it back to Javonte Williams. I have the draft board here up on YouTube for anybody who's watching this. Ryan was drafting from the number 5 spot here tonight. This was a draft that took place on Friday. Ryan, am I correct in saying this?
Yep.
Okay. So this was after the Cowboys-Eagles game on Thursday night. You went ahead and took Javonte Williams at the 7:05 in this draft. Some would say it was aggressive. Some would say it was wrong. But through 2 weeks, it looks like an absolute bargain. When you were looking at this draft, knowing that you had the free look, knowing that whatever Javonte Williams did in week 1, you could easily supplant him in your starting lineup with whatever running back, receiver, tight end that you had drafted, knowing that you could put him in. How big of a target was Javonte Williams? And quite frankly, Ryan, to piggyback on that, what do you think is going to happen for Williams the rest of the year after he kind of duplicated what he did in week 1 in week 2 as well.
Yeah, that was exciting for sure. We definitely probably took him earlier based off of that performance the night before. And it certainly worked out the previous year for, if you remember, Saquon exploded the night before the drafts, a lot of the drafts, and he ended up, going way higher than I think like he would have if he hadn't had that day. I mean, obviously different levels of backs and different levels of player, but like we did put some stock into the fact of like, let's get a win out of the gate. Like, he's in your lineup week 1. Let's start strong. And then going forward, I mean, someone's got to eat in that backfield. And, a lot of these rookies get hyped up that are coming in, and it's like, they don't always pan out right away.
It's all blue. All they wanted to talk about all summer was blue. Williams was, and Balky, you might have been a pot stirrer on that.
I was a pot stirrer.
But when I look at this draft, right, and once again, I give you big kudos for what you're doing here, because it's like the people you were drafting with believed everything they heard and didn't believe anything they saw. And yes, Williams is Williams. The thing I see about him that I love, he's on the field on third down. And he's running to the second level better than a lot of running backs that I've seen in the league. So with the danger of repeating myself, I don't get it. But I had, in my situation, I was drafting Williams either a round or 2 ahead of where you did, and I'm pleased to have him.
Ryan, let me ask you.
It's also a heavy. I mean, Dallas is going to put up points, and someone's got to get those goal line carries, and he's a guy who can handle that.
Yeah,
so
he
I like
is.
it going
Bunky,
forward. I don't expect him to do what he's doing every week, but
you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. Don't.
I hope for sure, but we're excited to have him. I mean, I think
I guess so.
So Ryan, let me ask you this. This is coming from Scott Hoyt. I posted it. He's watching us on YouTube tonight, and he has a question about your Seattle Seahawks wide receivers. You guys obviously took Jackson Smith and Jigba here at the 305, but later on in the draft, you also took Cooper Kupp in the 10th round. Scott Hoyt wants to know, what was your thoughts on drafting Cooper Kupp when you already had Jackson Smith and Jigba? Did that come into the forefront of your mind when you decided to take Cooper Kupp in the 10th round? Did it not make a difference at all? Can you just kind of give us the lay of the land, knowing that you had Smith and Jigba, and then in the 10th round, you decided to take Kupp as well?
I'm usually not crazy about doing that. I don't love having the second guy when I have the first guy. It was really kind of a situation of like, I really felt he was the best available guy, just forgetting that I have JSN. It's just like, I kind of felt like he slid pretty far down, where I think we let him go around ahead, and we almost looked at him there, and by the time he was there in the 10th round, I was just like, he's the best guy on the board to me, and so I'm going to take him. And
I think that's brilliant decision making in your process, especially when the fact that you look at the number 1 receiver there, and he is quick, and he is flexible, and he makes good feet moves. But how big is JSN, Balky? What's the size on him?
Oh, you want to get his measurements?
Yeah.
I was not expecting this tonight.
Yeah, buddy. I'll tell you, I throw the curves.
I think of him as a small guy, but like,
he's lengthy. He's got long arms. But
he's as Risa Fan's character in The Replacements would say, he's wiry. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 6 foot 197.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that size for a number 1 receiver. I Okay, I've been bragging on you. Now I can quit doing that because you went tight end. You took two of my favorites. You took one of my favorite tight ends and one of my least favorite tight ends. And I all summer long, especially on something called the Pros versus Joes. I had to fight the pros on drafting Goddard. It's not that I don't care for Goddard. There's a number of reasons why I like other tight ends better, but availability is the greatest ability. And here he is unavailable again. But congratulations on picking up Zach Ertz. Now you've got injury bug down there with a quarterback, and you've got a veteran quarterback rolling off the bench to try to make an effort here for the Commanders, and a lot of other changes in the offense. You happy with Zach Ertz? You're going to roll with Zach Ertz? I mean, I am. Your thoughts on Ertz, and if you want to defend your Goddard selection, I'll let you. But we won't.
And Ryan, before you answer, I will just say that a few hours ago, Dallas Goedert was listed as I don't think he's listed on the injury report at all. He is available this weekend against the Rams.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think from what I hear too, I think he's going to play. And to me, it's a tough decision. I think I wouldn't have made. I don't think we would have drafted Goddard if we didn't have Hurts. But having Jalen Hurts, and our theory on the tight end is if you're not going to get one of those top two, maybe three guys, then we wait. And let other people take a lot of those, mid tight ends. And there's guys, that you get late that are just as good. I mean, look, I think Tucker Kraft is the perfect example. I mean, like these guys.
You should have just gone later, Ryan. You should have gone later. You just should have gone late
with Goddard. But I think we had targeted. We targeted Ertz. Like, I felt like going with Goddard. You got to get somebody else. You got to back him up with somebody.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how Ertz fell in a lot of drafts. I mean, I think he had something like 80 catches last year, and
I think it's in the 60s. But with
was it 60? I thought it was
with
higher.
FFPC math, it gets to 80 real quick.
I thought it was higher, but if you compare him to a lot of the guys going in that range, I mean, he's on, I think, another level, and I don't know why he kind of doesn't get the respect, that he should.
Ryan, let me ask you this too, and this is something I brought up with a lot of FFPC live players that were drafting at the Horseshoe Convention Center.
Love the Horseshoe
Casino. The rise of Dallas Goedert did not happen after that Thursday night game. We saw the plummet of AJ Brown, we saw the plummet of Devonta Smith, but Dallas Goedert caught 7 balls. That opening weekend or that opening Thursday night game against Dallas, and he didn't really rise in drafts at all. Were you surprised at that? And the fact that he is active this week, knowing that the Eagles have not really been throwing the ball a whole lot, and when they have, it's not been to AJ Brown, it's not been to Devonta Smith, it's been to Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I mean, he, when he plays, he's consistent. I mean, he gets his catches, and I'm not too worried about Philly's offense. They'll figure it out. I mean, they'll start throwing the ball, and as long as he's healthy and he's out there, he's gonna get his catches, and he's gonna get in the end zone. And and this week, with Ertz, it scares me with Jaden out. I mean, it's a different situation, and that's why it's a tough decision. It wouldn't be if Jaden was playing. I would definitely 100% know we were going to go with Ertz, but it's now it makes it interesting. And I'm actually probably leaning Goddard.
Make it interesting. That's exactly right. Let's get Let's get you buying the bourbon on it, or me buying the bourbon on it. We'll next year, Ryan, at the FFPC Live main event in Las Vegas. I'll take receptions and Ertz, and you may have receptions in Goddard. Good deal. All right, done deal.
Let me bring this up right now. Adam Hahn, longtime viewer, listener of this show, says
longtime smart guy.
Jalen, and not in a bad way. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley are the only fantasy relevant Eagles right now.
Occasionally, he's wrong.
Occasionally, yes. But Permar 99 also chiming in that Matthew Stafford is going to push Philly this week. Now, Ryan, if I was to pose this question to you, and I'm going to bring it up right now and give you some context on this this game, which stinks that this is the 1 o'clock game. I thought this was going to be in the 4 o'clock window on Sunday. It's not. It's a 1 o'clock game. It is what it is. This total is at 44.5. The Eagles are at -3.5 in this game. Rams and Eagles both coming in this game at 2-0. Am I out of bounds when I say that we could see the Eagles passing game take a step forward in this game? We could see a potential shootout with Brown, Smith, Nakua, Devontae Adams. We could see these guys trading blows back and forth. And because I feel like there is more than a non-zero chance we see that, but our friends in the desert would say we're probably not, as the total on this game is less than 45 right now.
Yeah, that is surprising. I mean, I guess they are two pretty good defenses, but like, game script definitely comes into play. I think it's a bold statement about Hurts and Saquon, but I do understand like the sentiment, because like I'm not crazy about the Eagles wide receivers. Like, part of the reason I like JSN over AJ Brown is just like you just never know who's gonna pop off each week with them. So I do stay away from their receivers. So I do get what he's saying. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Rams could, push the Eagles and kind of, light a fire and maybe start that offense up. I could see that happening for sure.
Yeah, I defer to what you and Adam say there. Adam came on a little strong with it because I think those other players are relevant in an offense like this. But when you have a quarterback and a running back that dominate so much red zone activity, you're in a situation of your wide receivers and fantasy points being a bit discounted there.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely okay. Let's keep it on the East Coast since you're East. Oh,
real quick, Ferrell. I want to bring this up real quick. This is something I found out, and maybe it's a nothing burger, maybe it's something. As far
is it breaking news?
No, it's not.
Some breaking news, bro.
We often do not break news on this show at 10 to 11 Eastern time on Friday nights. Sometimes we do. This is not one of those times. If I look at touchdown passes on the year, we have Jared Goff and just touchdowns passes. Goff with 6, Lamar Jackson with 6, Josh Allen has 5, Aaron Rodgers has 5 on the year. We scroll down, we see Jaden Daniels with 3. We see Russell Wilson with his big week 2 with 3. And we got to keep scrolling down and scrolling down. Daniel Jones with 2 on this. Patrick Mahomes with 2. We have to keep scrolling down, and we see that Jalen Hurts right now, ladies and gentlemen, 0.0 passing touchdowns on the year. Hold on. To quote Dean Wormer from Animal House, fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life. So Jalen Hurts with nary a touchdown pass. I'm going to leave this up to you right now, Ryan. Does Hurts finally crack in to the touchdown passing category this weekend? Do we get this passing game on track with Hurts, Brown, Smith? I know you kind of alluded to it with the last question we asked, but just and I'm asking you this from like a selfish standpoint too, where I have to kind of figure out what I'm doing with my Eagles in my lineups this week. Does Hurts, Brown, and Smith, do they get it going this week against the Rams, or do I have to wait another week?
Well, first of all, to the point of him having 0 passing touchdowns as a Hurts fantasy owner, I don't care. Why would I care? I mean,
Yeah.
he's guaranteed to run one in, like
Yeah.
practically it's like a weekly thing, you know, you one at least, you know, you a lot of times too. Like if I'm a Saquon owner, then you know, I don't like Hurts getting all these touchdowns, but like, you know, yeah, as an owner, like I drafted him for the tush push, not because he's throwing, you know,
Mhm.
0
30-yard touchdowns to
He'll-
AJ Brown. But
He'll catch up.
yeah, eventually he's gonna, you know,
he's going to catch up.
yeah.
Balky brought up some interesting things in that question and in that. I love the way you presented that, Balky. Well, I would have done a more of a shorthand kind of presentation in that, and I would just say that, you know, that Pittman has the same number of touchdown passes. So
That's hilarious. That's
and
awesome.
then that's how I would have presented that. And by the way,
So does Ron Jaworski this year as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
it took the 10:52 to get Pittman in here. You know, last week we did say don't start Pittman. He'll get you maybe 12, and he got 8. And so we were right about that. But all summer long, Bucky, we said Jared Goff, play him at home, draft him late, and play him at home, and it worked out. It worked out pretty good this last week. But now I've got something that all summer long we talked about, and Ryan, I need your help with this. The running back situation down in Washington has been intriguing all year long. And now the beloved Austin Eckler, he's through for this year. Ja'Cory Cross-Key Merritt was all anyone could talk about until we got to Las Vegas.
Another one of those rookies.
Yeah, well, you know, we got to Las Vegas. Everybody talked about him, and he earned the conversation because he was fantastic in camp and in preseason. He showed a lot of skills. He showed a lot of skills during the draft and evaluation process. What happened when we got to Las Vegas is Balky, do you have any numbers to support it? But he was going up the boards, and then all of a sudden he was going down the boards. I took advantage of that in some places. I think he's a real player. And I think he's going to be a very, very adequate to get better rookie fantasy running back for anyone that has him on their roster. He may not shine from day one, but he's going to get there. I like him in the pass game. I like him in the rush game. Are you as high on this player, or did you avoid this player throughout the drafts?
I avoided him. It's not specifically him. I just avoided the situation.
Mhm.
I tried to. I actually did end up with Eckler. But yeah, I was certainly not targeting anyone in that backfield. It just scared me off. I didn't know where the touches were going to be. I didn't know, you know, who was gonna get what. So I didn't target him, even though I did hear a lot of good things about him. And now, I this week actually grabbed Chris Rodriguez off of the waiver wire because we kind of like him now to, you know, maybe step up, and especially with goal line touches. I mean, he's a bruiser, you know. They don't have anyone like him now on that roster. So but yeah, I stayed away. But I think he'll be, I do think he's talented, and I think like a lot of these rookies, as the season goes on, he'll get better, you know, and he'll be a good back, but I stayed away.
And it's interesting that teams try to develop rookies to get them better in the league. With smaller rosters, it used to be that the rookies would hit the wall. You know, they run out of gas, poor conditioning, not necessarily ready for the NFL game. And there's been a significant change in that over the last few years. So, okay, I was just curious. I was trying to find you one rookie on this team that you would have been targeting that you just didn't grab. But, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Ryan. Speaking of rookie running backs, there's been a lot of people that are pushing the panic button on Ashton Genty, on Omarion Hampton, on Travion Henderson. And I don't know how you felt about these rookie running backs coming into the season. For me, it's way too early to say that these guys are busts. It took for I think it was 6 quarters of NFL action before I saw people on X comparing Ashton Genty to Trent Richardson. 6 quarters, 6 quarters. That's all it took. And for me, listen, you draft these rookie running backs, you have to exercise patience. This was an historic year for running backs in the class here. And I do think that these guys are going to pay off. And when I drafted them, I didn't necessarily think that they'd be paying off in September or October. I drafted these guys for November. I drafted these guys for December. Is that the way that you're seeing this running back class as well?
Yeah, but I did think that a couple of these guys, Genty and Hampton, I thought they would get off to a better start, but I'm not worried about it yet. You know, and I'm biased. I'm an East Coast guy, but I've been a Raiders fan my whole life. Bo Jackson was my hero when I was a kid, and so I started rooting for them when I was young, and I, stuck with them now through, thick and thin, mostly thin, but yeah. So I had hoped he would come out of the gates stronger, but yeah, I'm not worried at all, really. I mean, it's way too early for these guys to pass any judgment or decide what they're going to be.
But it's not too late, Balky, to break out the chain. Ryan said it from an early time. The same way with me, Ryan. Is fantastic to see that. The one thing that we can say about Krusky Merritt is he now has. We started the show talking about the Seattle running back situation. In at least in Washington, I think it's his backfield. We saw Ollie Gordon last night, and Ollie Gordon was a very hot rookie that everybody wanted to draft. Some established drafters drafted him as high as 11th and 12th round. And I really love what he does, with the ball. But that's not going to be his backfield, that in Miami. So we'll just see what happens. But it's pretty fascinating stuff. And look at him; he's got the beret on too.
John Terry is already commenting. Made this a possibility for me. I put it on 2 weeks in a row. I knew John was in the chat room tonight, so I was going to put my bulky beret on in honor of the FFPC live events being held at Paris Casino in Las Vegas. So yes, bulky W Griswold chiming in on the show tonight. So glad to be joined by one Ryan Bush. Ferrell, listen, we are running out of time here, but we do have time for one final question for Ryan Bush, who is leading the FFPC main event heading into week 3.
Ryan, I don't think he can answer this question because he's not geared this way. But maybe you do have one. Maybe you do have one player.
This isn't going to be about Krusky Merritt again.
Did you? Yeah, we're still going to talk about Krusky Merritt. Yeah, I want to get a history. I want to see why the Raiders didn't draft him, damn it. But I want to know a player that you just would not have a part of. I mean, that player for me, we already talked about it. Goddard. I appreciate the player as a football player. Didn't want to have a part of it. Same thing with Kittle. Is there somebody that you didn't want to draft? And is there somebody that you had to have? That you were sitting there and you were so surprised he was available to you, you could hardly sit in your chair without screaming out his name. Were those players part of your makeup for this 2025 draft?
Definitely. The guy I didn't really want a part of DK Metcalf, or really like that whole Steelers situation. That to me was like I avoided it like the plague, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers has a lot left. I don't like the drama that he brings. I just don't know. I feel like you don't know what's going to happen. And so, yeah, that DK Metcalf really was one that I was just like, let other guys take him. I think he's talented. I like the guy, and I just don't like the situation that he's in as a number one receiver. So that was one. I'm not sure about a guy I just was I mean, JSN was really that guy.
That was your guy.
Yeah, he was our guy, and we were gonna get him if we could, because I just really thought he was gonna make a big jump.
And the other thing to keep in mind here, and I think I mentioned this at the top of the show. Smith and Jigba was a guy that I was drafting early, like in February, in March, in April, May, June, whatever. And I got scared off by the pundits out there telling me that, look, no Ryan Grubb there anymore, which means it's going to be the Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet show, which it kind of has been, but at the same time, Smith and Jigba is like what, top 5, top 6, top 7 in the NFL in fantasy points right now. And I'm kind of ticked off that I didn't draft more of him, as the season went on.
Well, you didn't play enough, Balky, in Kentucky.
That's the thing. I agree.
Couple more leagues would have helped.
You know what I am right now, Ferrell? I'm a wish I had. I wish I had drafted more Jackson Smith and Jigba, and now here I am stuck in like my 3 shares or 4 shares of JSN or whatever what it's worth. When I could be Ryan Bush, who is sitting coming into week 3 atop the FFPC main event with Jackson Smith and Jigba in the 3rd round. Ryan, we will continue to follow you on X at League 77. And we will continue to follow your exploits atop the FFPC main event leaderboard. This is fun, man. Scott Hoyt chimed in. It's fun to be up there at the top in week 3. Hopefully you're there at the end. Still, this is kind of trippy, right? When you think about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people in this FFPC main event, and heading into week 3, you see your name atop that list. That's got to be awesome, man.
It is. It's really cool. I was really surprised when I saw it in week 1 that we were up there. We were close to the top, and then to move into the top spot. Yeah, even if it's early, it's really cool. And especially too, like only being our 2nd year in the FFPC, but we love it. Like I plan on being in it, as a long time, and it's really cool. It's a really cool thing. We love the live draft part of it. I mean, that that's part of the fun for us. And but yeah, I appreciate what you guys are doing. It's great.
If you're going to be Mr. Bush, I'm going to be Mr. Khan. I'm going to be your.
There you go.
I'm going to be the hang on guy.
I'm going to the silent partner.
Yeah. Silent partner, exactly. Well, speaking of the silent partner, Derek already saying we should have a weekly segment with Ryan on this show. Listen, I'm not opposed to that. We'll see how this show goes. But I also have to ask Dom Gazzetti pointing out here, and he asked Derek about this. And Ryan, I'll ask you this on the air: how did you guys end up hearing about the FFPC?
That was my partner, and I can't say exactly how he heard, but
he told you about it.
Yep. He asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said absolutely. And he's a big gambler, and he's got his finger on the pulse of all that, everything that's going on. So yeah, he found it. I jumped at the chance, and we've just had a great time doing it the last couple of years. So
Khan's the straw that stirs the drink.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to at all diminish his role, because we're equal partners, and even though I'm on here tonight, he does a lot. So
there you go. This is the gentleman who is the leader of the lead team in the FFPC main event heading into week 3. His name is Ryan Bush. You can follow him on X at League 77. Ryan, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. I know we kept you a little bit longer, but this is good stuff. Ferrell's oinker, my oinker, give you kudos to you with everything you accomplished this season. And if all goes according to plan, we'll have you back on at the back end of December, early January, when you're holding that big, fat $1 million check. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Enjoy week 3, my friend.
Yep, appreciate it. It was awesome. Thank you.
You got it. That is Ryan Bush at League 77 on X, ladies and gentlemen. The leader in the FFPC main event heading into week 3. Good stuff from him, Ferrell. Ryan Bush tonight joining the show tonight. I want to get into a few start-sit questions.
Okay.
With that, Ferrell?
You want them quick?
We'll go rapid fire on this.
Okay.
This is James in Philadelphia, J.K. Dobbins or David Montgomery. Of course, this week, J.K. Dobbins is at his old team. This is the J.K. Dobbins revenge game. J.K. Dobbins at the Chargers, or you could start David Montgomery at the Ravens. This is Monday Night Football this week.
I don't want anything to do with the Ravens defense trying to play against that. Let's work the revenge game and let's see how the Chargers Denver work out.
So you're going. This seems like open and shut for you. I had to think about this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I came to the same conclusion as you for what it's worth, but it wasn't that easy. But yeah, I'm playing Dobbins here. Andy in Bismarck, North Dakota, one of the Dakotas here, chiming in, and he wants to know Ricky Pearsall or Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, to give you a little bit of background on what's going on here, Wan'Dale Robinson had an ADOT that he hasn't seen since his collegiate days at the University of Kentucky, with Russell Wilson just absolutely blowing up in week 2. And then you have Ricky Pearsall, who is healthy, and Juwan Jennings is not. But Juwan Jennings was not healthy coming into week 2, and he led the Niners in targets in week 2. Ricky Pearsall had I want to say 4 for about 47, 50, something like that. He didn't blow up last week. So Ferrell, would you be following and riding this crest of a wave with Wan'Dale Robinson right now, or would you be playing Ricky Pearsall?
I'm going to be a Ricky Pearsall guy here, easy.
Pearsall over Wan'Dale, easy.
Easy.
I don't know what it is. Maybe you're seeing stuff like way faster than I am, and you're coming to it. Again, I think it's Pearsall, but I lean towards Pearsall. I could easily see Wan'Dale Robinson having a big game again against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I lean towards Pearsall. Ferrell is heavily in favor of Ricky Pearsall here, so I guess that's the way that we will roll with it tonight. Dan in Bohemia, New York, Mark Andrews, the corpse of Mark Andrews, someone
no.
Or Jatavian Sanders, Ferrell, an up-and-comer in the FFPC, in fantasy football, football in general. I think that guy, Jatavian Sanders, has seen the better part. I don't think he's seen 15 targets so far, but it's been very, very close to 15 targets for Jatavian Sanders. And Mark Andrews with 1 catch in week 1, 1 catch in week 2. If you are in the FFPC tight end premium scoring, are you sitting Mark Andrews in favor of Jatavian Sanders right now?
If you have Jatavian Sanders on your roster, you've probably rostered him before. He's a player that you've invested time in, and he just came out the best game of his career. You're going to play Sanders here, and you're going to wait to see it from Andrews, and I hope we see it soon from Andrews.
The chatter we get in the YouTube chat from Permar99. Neither. Pick up Luke Musgrave. And quite frankly,
we would have to, since I don't believe Permar plays in the contest, we would have to let him know that Stephen G has already picked up Musgrave in every draft, so he's not available. Availability is the greatest ability, right. But if you're in some basement league, pick up Musgrave.
Steve texted me today that he picked up Musgrave in 5 leagues on Wednesday night. So he is dialed in on Musgrave right now. Permar99 also wants us to talk about Dontavian Wicks and Luke Musgrave. Listen, I'll let Ferrell talk about this in a second, but my feeling on this is I don't know if I'm ready to start Musgrave this week unless I'm in a bad situation at tight end. Like if I had George Kittle on my team and he went to IR week 1, then yeah, I would look at Musgrave. But there are certainly plenty of other tight ends I would look at starting ahead of Musgrave this week, including but not limited to Harold Fannin Jr., Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson. I like all those guys better than Musgrave this week, but I think that in the right situation, Musgrave may pay off. Ferrell, what do you make of Dontavian Wicks for the Packers in Cleveland this week with no Jaden Reed?
I just completely defer to you on all Packer questions. I stayed out of that wide receiver situation because it was too confusing to me. And I pine for Christian Watson to return.
Yeah.
But, we also, if you take a look at Thursday night's game, when you have a quarterback that can go through his progressions and hit 8, 9, 10 different receivers and then make plays with his feet and the ball, what he did with the tight end. Some of the greatest quarterbacks in this league aren't necessarily your greatest fantasy quarterbacks because they know how to move the ball around, and they're not going to lead their receivers to 100-catch games, whereas there's other quarterbacks that are going to gear in on certain type receivers. We might see a lot of that because we haven't talked about the quarterbacks that are coming off the bench to play this weekend, but we might see a lot of that. So, if you've got a number one receiver like what you've got with Chase and Higgins at Cincinnati, naturally you're going to play them, but you should play them without any hesitancy or any expectation of decline. Their game's going to look different. Browning's going to get the ball out of his hand much, much more quickly than Burrow will. And these guys are going to have to contribute with their feet after the catch instead of running the great routes before the catch. It will look different, but the fantasy numbers may appear to be the same.
Scott Hoyt wants to know, where's Golden? And I'm going to point this out here. And now, Ferrell, you said you defer to me on Packers stuff.
Yeah, always.
I believe that Golden makes a couple of big plays in this game against Cleveland on Sunday, and I might be hanging myself here when I say this, but I believe that Golden comes away with a stat line of like 2 for 73, something like that, and doesn't score. And when you're watching that game at 1 p.m. on Sunday, you're like, all right, Golden, here we go. And you're very excited for it. But when the game ends and you're like, God, the Packers only put up 22 points. Josh Jacobs got in the end zone. Luke Musgrave got in the end zone, or Sabian Williams, or some random person. And you're like, why didn't Golden score? I think that is part of the course. I think that Golden over the next few weeks with Jaden Reed out and maybe Tucker Kraft out over the next few weeks, we don't know about that for sure, but it's certainly a non-zero chance of it happening. We could see something right away in week 2. I'm not seeing it. That's just my personal opinion. Could be wrong on this. And Permar99 chiming in. Coach loves Dontavian Wicks. He's the best blocker on the team. I don't know if he's the best blocker on the team, but he's right up there. He might be the best blocker on the team. He's certainly one of the best blockers on the Green Bay Packers right now. So that's something to think about as well. A final question here, Ferrell, and God bless Daniel Jones. We have not talked about him a lot on the show tonight, but I'll throw this out there to you to try to figure out what we're doing with Daniel Jones. This question comes from Ricky in Bakersfield, California. Daniel Jones or Kyler Murray, who is going up against the San Francisco 49ers this week in that 4:00 p.m. Eastern time window.
Oh my goodness, you're going to lean into Daniel Jones and ride that wave.
You are?
Yes, it's easy.
Why is it easy? Why is it so easy for Jones over Murray this week for you?
Have you not? You got to watch the games, Balkman.
I have been watching the games. My concern,
the punter, they haven't awakened the punter yet. And there's a certain receiver that's available to Jones that makes everything work. So,
my concern with Daniel Jones, and I brought this up last night when I was on the Better Sports Network with Nate Polvolt from Optimus Fantasy. I said, listen, Daniel Jones has been crazy good these first 2 weeks. But what happens if he throws for 110 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks, or whatever I said on the show last night? And then you're like, God, why would I ever start Daniel Jones over Kyler Murray, over any of these guys, Jordan Love, or any of these players that are roughly ranked around the same level as Daniel Jones this week. Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix is another one too. And I can't remember who brought this up. I was listening to some show this week that talked about all these teams that got off to these fast 2-0 starts that inevitably folded or what have you. And I'm like, God, that sounds a lot like Daniel Jones. I could totally see it happening with Daniel Jones. But, Ferrell, you do not see it this way. You see Daniel Jones going into Tennessee and putting up a big game this week, a game that's well worthy of being started in single quarterback leagues in the FFPC Main Event and the Big Gorilla.
Yes, for many reasons, which we're running out of time that I can't list to you. But I can go back to third year Troy Aikman, who looked nothing like first and second year Troy Aikman. But boy, you know what? Sometimes that light comes on. It's a perfect situation, a perfect marriage for this player. Look, it's if you have Daniel Jones on your team, you went against the grain anyway, and there was a reason you picked this player. So now you're being rewarded, and you probably didn't play him week 1.
No.
You may not have played him week 2, but I would definitely play him in front of Murray.
That will complete our emails. Thank you for all the emails sent to highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. KFFSC.com is where to go to check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Ferrell Elliott joining us tonight. You can connect with him on X as well as Instagram at jferrellelliott. Ferrell, thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight. We will do this again next Friday when we reconvene. Enjoy week 3 and enjoy the Thursday night game in week 4. Talk with you again in a week.
Buddy, I look forward to that, and I hope someday that I could look as good as you in the beret.
Thank you, Ferrell. I appreciate that. Listen, I have to look good in a beret because I don't have the good hair that Ferrell Elliott has, ladies and gentlemen. So I have to put the John Terry beret on tonight, and kudos to John Terry for pumping this up for me. I just wish I would have got a shot at the Eiffel Tower at Paris Casino in Las Vegas, and I didn't. I'll have to wait till next year. Spoiler alert, and I'll just put this out there right now. God bless you for tuning in. 77 minutes into this program. I don't know if the FFPC is going to be at Paris next year, and I'll just put that out there right now. Do with it what you will. Ladies and gentlemen, that will complete our show this evening. I want to thank Ryan Bush, Ferrell Elliott, the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and of course, each and every one of you for watching. The HSFF Hour will return next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time as we head into week 4. Now, I did a 4-show evening this past week. We had 4 shows with one HSFF Hour, which you just watched, one FFPC Insider Access show, which I'll bring up in a second, and then 2, count them 2, not 1, but 2 RotoViz high stakes lowdowns. On Monday, I met with Jamie Joseph, 20-time FFPC league champion, and a guy who brought into week 2. He was 3rd place overall in the FFPC main event. And then on Tuesday, Derek Greer, a guy I hung out with in Las Vegas at Paris, who is 9th place overall in the FFPC Big Gorilla heading into week 2. Those episodes both available on the FFPC YouTube channels and the socials. Of course, the RotoViz high stakes lowdown URL, rotoviz.com/podcast, or anywhere you get podcasts as well. On the RotoViz high stakes lowdown next week, we have Mike Edelman, who is 4th place in the FFPC main event heading into week 3. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on the FFPC YouTube channel. You can check that out on Tuesday night. And then, like I said, in case you missed the RotoViz, actually, I beg your pardon, the FFPC Insider Access show on the Better Sports Network, watch it back on the FFPC socials or youtube.com/FFPC Fantasy, youtube.com/Better Network, or betternetwork.com. Nate Polvold from Optimus Fantasy joined me for 2 full hours as we led into that Bills-Dolphins game. Talked a lot about everything, trying to get your lineup straight for week 3. And then this coming Thursday, we'll be back live from 7 until 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Establish the Run's Jack Miller, who's going to delight us with everything going on in week 4 in fantasy football. The FFPC Weekly Challenge is live. There's no draft. There's no salary cap. Just pick 10 or 12 players, depending upon if you want to play with kickers or defenses, at myffpc.com, and you can win up to $2,500, 10, 30, and 100-team contests, only 1 player per NFL team. So if you want Jalen Hurts, you can't have A.J. Brown. If you want Kenneth Walker, you can't have Sam Darnold, so on and so forth. myffpc.com is where to go for that. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, with Mike Edelman, the FFPC main event 4th place team owner heading in to week 3. Thank you so much for watching. For Ferrell Elliott, for Ryan Bush, I'm Eric Balkman. This has been the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on the FFPC YouTube network. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Just to let everybody know, because I feel like I have to, the way the NFL has been treating Monday Night Football this past week. I don't know if you guys felt the same as me. I loved the stacking of a 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on Monday night. It was awesome to see a doubleheader in action, a true doubleheader where I got to watch 6 hours of football. We will not see that this Monday night. Sunday night, it's Chiefs and Giants. Monday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, it is the Lions and Ravens. Going to be a good game, but there's only one Monday night game to remember this week. So without further ado, get those FFPC weekly challenge lineups in, get those FFPC waiver bids in, and I will talk with you again on Tuesday on the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. Be good, everybody, and enjoy week 3.